Now, the city of Cape Town will not evict homeless people living in the CBD for now. The High Court has granted the city a court order to evict homeless people in various areas. Those evicted were given until the 30th of July to vacate several areas in the inner city. Joining us is Nkosinathi Sithole, who is an attorney at Siri Attorneys. Nkosinathi, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. A slight victory for Siri and for also those homeless people.
Hi, Masa, and good afternoon to all your viewers. A big victory, actually. A big victory because, firstly, this eviction was not an eviction that resulted or would result to all those people being homeless, but an eviction which will provide them ultimately with alternative accommodation. Now, most importantly, the alternative accommodation, as the date of the eviction has been pushed back to 12 August, will see to it that that alternative accommodation is decent for human beings to live in.
What was the issue with the first alternative accommodation, and why would the city of Cape Town even propose it in the first place? Because when we're looking at the alternative space that it's going to move to, the Ebenezer safe space, the mayor there also saying that one is much better too. What were the issues with the prior alternative accommodation spaces that people were refusing to go to?
Well, that was Safe Space 1.
Yes.
And Safe Space 1 basically is an open space under a bridge, which the shelter there is not fully enclosed. And because also of the overcrowding, a lot of people sleep in the open. Now, considering the Cape Town weather around the June-July season, you can imagine that people were getting rained on outside. So really, people could not accept that. And also when we visited that safe space, we could see that it isn't good or decent for human beings to live in. And that is why our clients then instructed us to bring a conditional appeal that that place is either fixed up or would be given an alternative. Now, both the city and the occupiers came to an agreement when then the Ebenezer safe space was offered, and everyone is going to be moving there.
So prior to Siri's involvement, what was the process that the city had embarked on?
So initially, there wasn't a clear offer for alternative accommodation when the litigation started. When we were instructed by the occupiers, that is when we raised that there has to be alternative accommodation afforded to everyone who's facing an eviction. And it is for that reason then that the city was compelled to reveal its plans as to where it's going to house all of those that it seeks to evict. And that is how part of Safe Space 1 came about. But also the other important thing which was raised and which the city considered was the issue of the rules in those safe spaces. The rules which relate to people only being housed there or to be accommodated there for not more than 6 months. The rules pertaining to lockout, meaning that when someone comes back from the shelter after a certain time, then they're not allowed entry. And that people are forced to leave the shelters in the morning. So all of those rules have been relaxed. In fact, they no longer apply. The only then issue that remained, hence this variation which was made an order of court yesterday, was as to the decency of the safe space where people will be relocated. And that was then resolved yesterday with that a variation order by agreement.
Yeah, and Nkosinathi, just briefly before I let you go as well, as Siri, what do you make of the City of Cape Town's statements that your involvement in this is delaying their process?
No. It's not delaying at all. In fact, our involvement has made sure that people's voices are heard, has made sure that those people are seen as human beings as opposed to, a nuisance and to some extent, subhumans. This is, I think, a first case of its kind where the city has experienced a challenge when it comes to evicting people living on the streets. So I think that is why perhaps it, may make such statements. But it's good for our constitution. It is also, in fact, good for the city to start realizing that people cannot just be evicted into homelessness. Laws need to be strictly followed.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time and your efforts. That's Nkosinathi Sithole from Siri.